Hello, this is Mel Thompson, and this is a podcast in a series of podcasts about political risk. Today I'll be discussing the president of Turkey, Mr. Erdogan, and why he is upset over the Treaty of Lausanne. The Turkish-Iraqi relationship is a volatile combination without inserting into that relationship a 1923 treaty. Now, if you want to keep things interesting, this is a good way to do it. But if you want to keep things on an even keel, this is a very, very bad idea. The Turkish president, Mr. Erdogan, has now done the one thing that has given foreign direct investors and diplomats a lot of concern, and that one thing is, by all measures, senseless. The Treaty of Lausanne dates from 1923, and basically what it did was define the borders that we now know as separating Turkey and Iraq. Now, all of this relates back to the Ottoman Empire. Yes, that empire and those Ottomans. And all of a sudden, Erdogan wants to start discussing this treaty and these boundaries with Iraq. This is a confounding situation if you look at the fact that the Iraqi city of Mosul would be part of any disputed land that Turkey would claim based upon the statements of Erdogan. Essentially, he's asking for a lot of problems to be put right in his lap, but he doesn't seem to care. Why does he care? Why does he not care, I should say? Because he can. He doesn't care. With a presence in Iraq, in Syria already, the Turkish troops that are under the thumb of Mr. Erdogan don't have any say. They have to go along with this. And Turkey is not going to be out of the equation whether or not this ridiculous issue ever came up. It unfortunately has come up. Anything more than a diplomatic solution to this manufactured problem would encourage even more Russian intervention into that region. Given the relationship between Erdogan and Russian President Vladimir Putin, couple that with an already existing Russian presence in Syria, and you have nothing but a recipe for intervention by Turkey into Iraq and possibly Russia at some point, which will certainly cause a lot of problems. The focus of foreign direct investors and companies dependent in some way upon Turkish goods or the goodwill of the Turkish government as far as market entry. These companies and investors need to shift what they're doing on paper. Not actually physically shift it, but shift it on paper and prepare for a what-if scenario. Questions of how many people do we have in Turkey? What are their roles? How is the supply chain managed? And 1,000 more questions need to be answered, analyzed, and put down in a brief. You can't just simply walk away from a statement by a head of state that we want to talk about the Treaty of Lausanne and the boundaries, particularly in a situation where you're looking at the boundary between Iraq and Turkey, where Turkey, if Iraq wanted to, could just turn around and say, you know something, you can have Mosul. Who would want that problem right now in the midst of a situation where we're one step away, by all reports, of a major offensive there by the Iraqi army to free that city from the Islamic State? The rebuilding alone would cost a lot of money. Taking care of refugees. So there is something underlying this that doesn't make any sense, because no reasonable person would want to inherit those problems. And I don't understand why Erdogan is doing this, but I do know one thing. The statements and the careless approach to this is a huge political risk, not just for foreign direct investors and companies conducting business in Turkey and doing business with Turkey, but for that region. This has been Mel Thompson.